back at what happened in 2018. But today, we're joined with somebody who looks perhaps more into the future. Monika Bielskyte joins me in studio now as we unpack a whole lot of issues. Monika, thank you so much for the time. It's an interesting one that you're a futurist, if we can call you that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so
so they say.
What is a futurist and what do you do?
So I'm a future researcher, futurist, and future designer.
Okay.
And as a future researcher, I travel the world trying to find the signs and the traces and signatures that are taking us into the future. As a futurist, I try to disseminate that knowledge by consulting tech companies, entertainment, media companies, as well as more recently cities, countries, and governments. What futurists generally do is they look at the technological and scientific trends and extrapolate where we could be going. What I really do is try to combine that knowledge of what's happening at the bleeding edge of science and technology with the intersection in politics and culture. Because for me, as my friend Alicia Naples says, the end result of innovation is not technology, it's what it does to us and to the planet.
Yes.
So for me, it's about the impact of these innovations to our lives.
Sure. Okay. Having taken that into account now, what do you see? What do you see in the future now?
Well, there is no one future, only
Sure.
possible futures.
Okay.
So in some way, there's a battle, right, between nostalgia, which I think is quite poisonous,
Sure.
and people wanting to make something great again, and the progressive voices, right? So I think that old axis between the left and the right politically is irrelevant anymore. It's really about regressive and progressive.
Okay.
So there are multiple pathways in the future, and what I really think a lot about is how technological innovation without humanitarian evolution equals dystopian future.
Wait, say that again. So technological?
Technological innovation without humanitarian evolution equals
Sure.
dystopian future.
Yeah.
So we cannot be just focused on the gadgets, but really think how we as humans use them and what kind of values inform that. And that it's on that the futures really depend.
Yeah.
Is who we actually choosing to be as a society. Are we moving more towards individualism and selfishness and environmental neglect, or are we trying to be the opposite of that?
Would you not say that we are perhaps moving a little bit more to individualism, considering the state of technology? We're trying to, do less by being as lazy as possible and getting, some sort of technology or machine to do things for us. We're on our phones a whole lot more and could go through an entire train, bus, plane ride without even speaking to a single soul. Do you think that we perhaps certainly are moving in that direction?
Well, it's because we are importing everywhere into the world these non-contextual futures. So as a future designer, I actually work on science fiction projects, science fiction movies, TV series, and stuff like that. And also as a futurist, I studied the influence of these fictions that we tell to our collective imagination. And sadly, these very dystopian, isolating sci-fi visions that Hollywood produces have started to influence even futures here on the African continent and across the global south. But these are futures that are not contextual for the culture of these places, right? So I think that we need to really examine the alternative scenarios and possibilities that are hopefully more about community, that hopefully are more about Ubuntu, right? And less about following the model that, honestly, as a planetary civilization is leading us straight into the wall, towards the extinction of most life on Earth, including our own species. So unless we actually rethink how we do those things and what are the stories of success we tell to ourselves, and what is the definition of progress or development we have, the future looks quite bleak. Now, if we re-examine that and try to think of what kind of true behavioral change we could implement to our lives, then hopefully the future is more optimistic.
Wow. Okay, a whole lot happening here. Let's talk very quickly as well about your stints on the movie series or TV series and the movie scene as well. You've worked with Google, DreamWorks, the likes of Universal, entire entertainment industry. How's that been? And as you said, it is beginning to shape things along in Africa as well. But how's the rest of the world looking at it too?
Yeah, so I think you know, I've been a big advocate for what is labeled as diversity. I just call it reality.
Okay, fair enough.
Right? Because, you know, as long as we keep thinking of everybody who's not a white straight man as diverse,
Sure.
we are otherizing, right? So,
True.
so for me, I've been pushing towards more diverse representation, more diverse narratives, and much bigger environmental consciousness in the kind of science fiction stories that we tell, and imagining really what we call protopian fictions. So protopian is not utopian. Utopia is this kind of perfect, very unrealistic vision of future. Protopia is an evolved vision of future.
Sure.
And I think, you know, that change is possible. And in some way, you know, Black Panther was one of the first steps towards that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how much of a, you know, imperfect as it was in so many regards, yet how much positive impact and how inspirational it was in helping people reimagine different kind of futures. You know, I'm biased. Hannah Beachler is somebody who I hope can call a friend, worked on it as a production designer.
Sure.
And the way she thought what future city can be, how technology can coexist with ritual and tradition and culture and humanity and family ties and love.
Sure.
Right? And so for me, it's very important to try and motivate the entertainment industry to represent science and technology accurately, but instead of just extrapolating towards the worst possible scenario, to imagine how we could evolve. Because if we just keep telling these dystopian futures, the most negative, pessimistic version of future, they in some ways can become a product roadmap for reality.
Exactly, yeah. And it could be
now
a
it's
self-fulfilling prophecy.
And it is. In fact, it is. You know,
Sure.
Minority Report did not invent the future. You know, it did not predict the future. It actually invented the future.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of police state predictive crime apparatus actually became a reality. Peter Thiel, you know, was testing predictive crime with all of its racial biases in New Orleans, secretly, right?
Monika, wow. There's a whole lot more to discuss here, and hopefully I pray you come back actually and we can discuss this a whole lot more. Sadly, we have run out of time, but we hope we can continue to have this discussion at some stage again and really just talk about the future a whole lot more. And as you said,
Thank
that
you so
dystopian future. Monika Bielskyte, right?
Bielskyte.
That is correct.
Yes.
Bielskyte. All right.
Well, I love South Africa, and I hope, I mean, I'm actually not leaving anytime soon.
Good,
I'm here for the
don't.
next few weeks.
Good. I'm glad. Enjoy the beaches
Thank
as
you
well.
so much.
Enjoy the summer. All right.
Pleasure.
And hopefully we'll chat
Thank
to you again and enjoy the festive season.